Welcome everybody, Dylan here over at the Caden Academy, and I wanted to shoot maybe something a little different for you all today. I get asked often, what does it mean to be aligned? You hear me talk about aligned productivity and our productivity work and training. Of course, we're always talking about being in alignment with the way that kind of nature flows and everything. A big inspiration of mine was always Alan Watts, and Alan Watts always talks about being in alignment, and he uses nature as an example. He says, does the sun strive to come up every morning, right? Does the water, stress every day as it moves through the rocks and the rivers and the streams? No, it just finds a way. And a lot of you that have followed me know that I really enjoy hunting and fishing. And this year I was doing a lot of deer hunting and sitting in the woods. And I thought to myself on this topic, what does it mean to be in alignment? And it's a good analogy. There's so much that hunting can teach you. Hunting and fishing is not for everybody. So I definitely get that. If it's not your thing, that's okay. But from an analogy standpoint, there's so much that you can learn. We talk about, even in our 12-week course and a lot of work that I do, finding stillness. In stillness, you can hear God, you can hear that inner voice. A lot of times when you're out in the woods hunting, you're just in complete stillness, you're in complete solitude, and you're sitting there with your thoughts. And if you've ever hunted or fished before, there's kind of a thing that happens where you just get still and everything becomes alive around you. And you kind of get in tune with everything that's out in the woods and in the wild. And it's hard to describe, but it's that feeling of, when something's there. You can feel life around you. And there's just so much of that connectivity. That's why I love not even just hunting and fishing. I love backpacking. I like just going out for 7 to 10 days and immersing myself and cutting out that noise. But this isn't a video on stillness. I talk a lot about stillness. This is a video coming back to kind of what we're talking about on what does it mean to be in alignment with nature, with the flow and rhythm of nature. And if I'm going to use hunting as an example, there's 2 ways to hunt. If you're a hunter, you kind of understand this. Even in fishing, I can exert a lot of energy and time and physical energy and mental energy chasing game. I'll give you an example. If I were out hunting elk in the mountains of Montana, I might spend a lot of time hiking 10, 15, 20 miles and scoping and chasing game and following them. And you're exhausted. And then when you actually do get something, you've got to hike back. And if you're 20 miles out, that's a lot. And the reason why I like to use hunting as an example is because life is a lot like that. I spent so much of my life, so many decades, trying to force success, trying to force results into existence. Hustle harder, do more, work 7 days a week, the hustle culture. And can you achieve success with the hustle culture? Absolutely, you can. But just like the analogy with hunting and chasing your game, it could be an elk or it could be a deer. There's a lot of methods, even with deer hunting. You can get groups of people and kind of push the game and push the animal kind of where you want them to be into the other hunters that are out there. But it comes at a great expense, right? You're exhausted. And so many of us go through life feeling absolutely exhausted. I was that way for decades. Being a self-employed entrepreneur, running my business, chasing success, chasing the animal, chasing the game. And it inevitably leads to burnout, exhaustion, stress, mental exhaustion, physical exhaustion, failed relationships. But when you take the aligned approach, and this really clicked for me when I studied the Tao Te Ching. which is an Asian text. And this was after so many decades of struggling even my own business. It basically pointed to one thing. Look at how nature is, reacting every day. It's not struggling. It's not forcing things into existence. It's just being. It's just being. And when I moved from chasing the game and all of the energy and all the effort, and I said, well, let me get into alignment with the natural flow of things, man, did things start to pop. Man, did the stress start to dissipate. Instead of chasing and exerting all that energy and time and stress and fatigue, I said, let me get into alignment and attract what it is that I want. And going back to the hunting analogy, I spend most of my time hunting, not chasing, not running down game for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 miles. I spend a lot of my time just sitting and waiting and in stillness. And what happens very quickly, if you've spent any time in the woods, is if you go out there and you just sit, then life comes to you. The game comes to you. You'll see all of the life after about 20 or 30 minutes out in the woods or the wilderness start to reemerge. The squirrels come out, the rabbits come out, the birds come out, like you're not even there. And instead of exerting all of that energy chasing life, chasing the animal, I sit and I wait, and it comes to me. The deer will come to me. The squirrel will come to me. The fish will come to me. And that's why I like the hunting analogy, whether hunting's your thing or not. To me, it's a really good example about shifting that mentality away from hustle, away from force, because you can get results in both ways. I can go out and get results and expend a lot of effort and a lot of energy, but I can get results, and life is that way too. But so many of us have grown up in our culture and our teaching, you got to work harder, you got to hustle. That's just the way life is. And if you believe that to be the way life is, then life, remember, you hear me talk about this all the time, life is a mirror. It will always reflect back to you your innermost beliefs. And so if you believe you have to struggle, life is hard, it's going to always be hard, you were taught these things. I was taught these things, right? As well. But that's just a belief. Reality and consciousness doesn't care. It doesn't say this is right or wrong. The outer world will always reflect back to you your innermost beliefs and what you believe to be true. And so if you believe that you have to hustle and fight your way through life, then that's just going to always be your reality. But a lot of the work that we do in the Caden Academy is we make those mental shifts and we abandon these old beliefs and these old conditionings and we flip the script. At any point in time, you are in complete control of your reality. And it starts with awareness. It starts with understanding that all of those thoughts going through your head, all of those beliefs, all those opinions are literally being reflected back to you. And if you don't like them, at any point in time, you can change them. And so then you change the script and you change the story and you say, you know what? I want to seek, like I did, to get into alignment, to get into flow, to attract success, to attract the opportunities, to attract the partner, the relationship, the business, the job. I don't need to fight. That's just a belief. And if you believe it, life is a mirror. It will give you all reasons to believe it. But the opposite is true as well, too. And so when you sit in the woods and you allow the wildlife to come alive and the game to come to you, I wouldn't say it's effortless. There's effort. but it's not stressful, right? It's not, you're not burning yourself out. You're not fighting and pulling and bending results into existence. And so that's the work. And everybody watching this video right now can make those mental shifts and then watch how the outer world will reflect that back to you. I just noticed in my screen, I've got blinds in front of me to block the light, but I've got this one beam of light that is just shining on me right now. It's distracting me, and hopefully it's not distracting you, but you got to have fun, right? And so that's the point I want to make. Can you get results both ways? Absolutely. But one way costs you a lot in many ways, and that's a belief. And you can change that belief, and you can get into what so many of the Asian cultures talk about. Alan Watts used to talk about the concept of Wu Wei a lot, which is, in essence, it's an idea of not forcing things. They call it effortless way, but it's not really effortless because everything requires some extent of effort and action. But it's allowing life to unfold. It's allowing opportunities to come to you, just like hunting. If I sit and I wait, it will come to me. And life is no different. Now, you're not just sitting around. I think you understand that, and just things, you've got to have some action. The action in hunting is I go out, I put in a lot of scouting ahead of time where the animals are going to be. I pick where I want to sit. I wake up at 6 in the morning. I sit out there there's effort. I sit and I wait, right? There's a lot of things that are happening. So it's not effortless in that way. And that's not what Wu Wei is teaching either, right? So you do have to take action. But would you rather go and take all the action that you've been doing in your life so far that is so stressful, so draining, so exhausting in so many ways? And it goes back to the saying that all suffering, and if you really sit with this thought for a moment, that all suffering is rooted in your mind. It's how you think about everything and everyone and all of the opinions. And so the only way that you can end suffering, here's the good news, you don't need anybody else in the world to end your suffering. You only need you. And to change your thoughts and to change your beliefs. And the outer world will reflect those back to you. And that's why, and actually I didn't even come on with this intention, but it's sitting next to me. I wrote a very small book. It's 40, 50 pages called Imagination Creates Reality. But the reason why I'm bringing this up right now is because it's called the self-experiment in conscious creation. Because I don't want you just to sit here and listen to me and, Dylan says, change your thoughts, change your life. Life is a mirror. What you believe will be reflected back to you. Yeah, we've all heard that before. Try it for yourself and see. That's why it's called a self-experiment in conscious creation. Try it for yourself and see. There's not a lot of things that I will put my fist down and say, this is the truth. But the truth is, everything you experience in your outer world starts in your inner world. Everything, 100% of everything, all of reality is what you believe it to be. And you can test that for yourself. You don't need to study more. You don't need scientific evidence. You can test it for yourself. And the key to it, like we talk about in the book, is it's one thing to imagine, but you have to feel. Feeling is the key. And so just like that hunting example, life is no different. You can go out, put a ton of effort, a ton of energy, expend a lot of resources getting results. And a lot of us do. I did for decades. Until I hit rock bottom. Complete burnout, complete cataclysmic breakdown twice. Okay? And I said, that's enough of that. And so, that's why I do the work I do today. And so it doesn't have to be that way. You can flip that script, and you can, instead of chasing success, you can align and allow it to come to you, become magnetic. And that's what the Tao Te Ching teaches. That's what concepts like Wu Wei teach. That's what so many spiritual and religious traditions teach as well too. You can get success both ways, but which do you prefer? I spent decades trying to force results and success into existence, and I did. But you don't have to do that. And I'm a living example of that. And so my hope is to share that with you and just kind of give you well, let me try something different. You know, the old saying of like, you can't solve the same problem. You can't solve the problem with the same level of thinking. So you have to do something different. You have to become somebody different. You have to pivot and try something new, or you're just going to keep getting more of the same, more of the same. And so hopefully this is my call and my reminder. Let me scoot over here. I get distracted. I'm like the fish on Finding Nemo. Squirrel. But hopefully this is your call to pivot and try something new. And just reflect on what I'm telling you. Change your beliefs. If you believe, at the most simplest example, that you're unlucky, life will find every way and circumstance to mirror that back to you. If you change the script and you change your story that you like to cling to, we all do, we cling to these stories of life, how life should be, how life was, who treated me this way, this is unfair. Let it go. Because all it is doing is hurting you. It's creating suffering for you. Not anybody else. Well, maybe other people, because if you're miserable, the people around you might be miserable, right? But let it go. And so think of life, you can think about however you want, but I like this hunting example because I'm a hunter, I'm a fisher. 2 ways to go about it. So try it for yourself, okay? And for anybody who wants to go deeper into this, you can go to cadenacademy.com, and there's all types of wonderful ways to kind of expand on this. The best thing is I just released a new book, which is called Remember Who You Are. And you can get a copy of that right at cadenacademy.com. You can read the first couple chapters for free if you like it. It's a low cost on Amazon. That's a great way to get into this work and begin to start changing your life and watch your outer world reflected back. This book I just showed you, Imagination Creates Reality. I always tell people start there. Start with those two. And if you want to go deeper, then join me in my 12-week guided inner transformation class. You know, I have my course that we launched, Remember Who You Are. And 3 times a year, 2 to 3 times a year, I will guide students through that work live. So it's not a self-paced thing. It's me every week with you, and we're working through life, and we're working through that course. And in 12 weeks, you look back and say to yourself, I'm a completely different person. And so, you know, I always tell people start with those 2 books, Remember Who You Are. Start with Imagination Creates Reality. It's very low level kind of commitment, a way to ease yourself into this and begin to start catching those and replacing those. And then if you want to really go deep, then look into that 12-week program. It's all at cadenacademy.com. So hopefully this sparked something in you. Stay subscribed so that you can get new videos and all that good stuff. And I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks, everybody.